Welcome, welcome. Good morning, everyone. Hello.
Lindsay, good morning.
Hi, Jerry and Marcela.
Morning,
Marcelo. Hi, Nick.
Hello.
Paola.
Hello.
Hi there, Sebastian, Diego.
Afternoon.
Great to see you guys. It's been about 3 weeks since our last coffee chat, so welcome back. Thanks everyone for being here. Hi, Tom. Hi, Jorge, Juan, Jimena. Good to see you guys. All right. Well, if this is your first coffee chat, if you're new to our group, welcome. My name is Lindsay Lehr. I'm the Managing Director at Payments and Commerce Market Intelligence. You may also know us as America's Market Intelligence. And this is our 4th year running of these coffee chat sessions. We hold them every other Monday on a variety of topics across the payments industry in Latin America. And we're excited to come back to today. We're doing a deep dive into open finance, following up on our last conversation with e-banks on PIX payment initiation with PIX. We're going to be continuing that conversation, but going a little bit deeper into open finance in general in Brazil and also Mexico and Colombia. So welcome. Just a couple of guidelines to ensure a successful session today. If we go ahead to the next slide. Just a quick legal notice, our speakers' views are their own. Please take any information that you receive in today's session in conjunction with many other sources before any kind of business decision. And on the next slide, just some general user experience guidelines. As you guys know, this is not a webinar. This is an interactive participatory session. So that means we'd love for your cameras to be on. We'd love to see who you are and who's here. We'd love for one making a comment, introduce yourself. The floor is open for questions and comments at any time. The way you can do that is raise your hand using the reaction button. You can ask a question in the chat. You can jump in at any time to ask a question. And the more you put into the session, the more you get out of it. So we really encourage that open participation. Okay, moving on. Just before we get into our content today, I want to make a special announcement and an invitation to our network to join me at CrossTech Payments 2023, a really exciting event on really the only event on cross-border payments. And I'm going to be speaking there. And I know many of you are already attending. I would love for you guys to attend. We have a special gift as a 15% off giveaway using this promo code, and the more information is in the chat. I believe we have some CrossTech folks here. Marcela, are you connected?
Do you hear me?
Yes, can hear you now. Great. So welcome, Marcela. We wanted the CrossTech folks to be here just to give us a quick summary of the event and encourage you guys to check it out.
So thank you first of all for your invitation. Well, we will have our conference will be in Miami, May the 11th and the 12th, as you can see on the photo over there. What we are trying to do is to discuss the latest trends that we have on the industry, the best practices, the platforms, the innovations that we have over there. So what we're trying to do is to gather a small group of people. We're expecting around 200 to 50. Well, the profile that we received that are our visitors and our attendees, they are from sales director to CEOs, VPs. So everyone who wants to join or maybe to know more about it, I will be available on the chat. I have already left my contact there. If you want to go with us or if you want to talk more about it, just let me know, okay? And today we're going to have this promo code that we will use if you want to be with us.
Excellent. Thank you, Marcela. I'm personally very excited about this event, and I hope to see many of you guys there. Okay, so moving on, let's go ahead and introduce our speaker today. Many of you recognize this logo we have on the screen. I'm so excited to introduce Amanda from Belvo, who will be taking us through a deep dive into open finance. So Amanda, welcome. Thank you for being with us this morning.
Thank you so much for the invite. It's a pleasure to be here talking about open finance and presenting a little bit of Belvo for you today.
Awesome, awesome. Okay, so I'm going to start off with just really one slide here to get us reacquainted with some key numbers, and then turn it over to Amanda, and we'll kind of have a back and forth conversation. And so I just, this data here is really demonstrating the depth of bank account penetration. And by bank account, we're talking about both traditional bank accounts as well as fintech and digital wallet accounts. You guys may have seen this slide before. We've presented it many times, but it's really to show, since I started working in the industry, Latin America has always been known as a highly unbanked region. And I still hear people say that. And it's very true that in some countries, banking penetration is still really limited. But when we look at the region as a whole and the large economies, it's really no longer correct to refer to the region as highly unbanked. When we look at numbers in Brazil and Argentina and Colombia and Chile, we see over 90%. And so this is thanks to both banks and fintechs who have made this happen. Of course, we do have still a lot of room to grow in large economies like Mexico and Peru, and then, Central America, some of the Andean markets. There's still, of course, a lot of progress to be made, but just wanted to, lay this as a foundation that we have a banked population. And when we're talking about open finance and open banking, we're really able to access almost the entire adult population through digital financial services. And what is also really interesting about these numbers is this shows digital account penetration, but we've still got a huge population without access to credit, right? You might have access to a digital account, but you don't yet have a credit card. We're starting to see some more innovative credit solutions be available, but widely it is still an under-penetrated region when it comes to credit. And of course, open finance is really important in that aspect. So this is just kind of to lay the groundwork for our conversation, and I'll invite Amanda to start taking us through her content today.
So I will talk to you today about unlocking the power of open finance data and payments in Latin America. As Lindsay pointed, if we take a brief look back to the pandemic, we saw that a strong digital acceleration in Latin America happened, especially regarding the financial activities. We saw a digital financial migration in the region, which led to more financial data being available from people who previously did not have access to banking service. So today, we probably can say unbanked, but we can't say underbanked because these people did not have access, but now they're having access, which sparked companies' interest on how open finance could improve the financial sector with better reading, access, and analysis of this embedded data. With that said, we see a strong cooperation in digital finance already happening in Latin America in terms of open finance. We see Colombia, the Banco de la República working with Brazil Central Bank to implement the payment system inspired by PIX and so on. So today what I'm going to do is give you a little context on the main regions that are working with open finance, which is Brazil, Colombia, and Mexico. So if we can move to the next slide, starting with Brazil. So the agenda set by the central bank in Brazil really open up the open finance box in a country. And we have about 200 participating institutions regulated by the central bank working with open finance, which in Brazil had a bold planning with the model really evolving in an accelerated manner, especially during the third quarter of 22. In Brazil, the phases of open finance evolved quickly, and this year we can expect an evolution of what has already been launched in the region and an acceleration of new things to come, including the payment initiation that many companies are already adopting, which will be something, a game changer, of course, for the payments ecosystem. We see also the open finance structure, the governance, foreseeing improvements in data sharing performance, new sources covering investments, insurance, pension funds, foreign exchange. The possibilities are really, really vast. We still have, of course, a long road ahead with many challenges. However, the level of maturity that we're seeing in the region presented by the institutions has surprised, and the population is already reaping some of the benefits of open finance in the region, whether in credit access or financial management. Belvo has helped a lot of companies in that sense here in Brazil, like Neon and Mercado Livre, that are improving their credit services through enriched analysis of the financial information of their users that are being shared through open finance. Another industry that is already feeling the impact of the model's advance is the ERP industry, so accounting firms. We have big players like Conta Azul, MarketUp, Agilize that are using our platform to offer real-time accounting management, improving the financial health of companies that are their clients, and consequently moving the economy. These are some of the use cases that we see in Brazil, but they're also repeating themselves in Mexico and in Colombia. So
can I ask a question?
Of course.
Yeah, so historically here in the West, banks do not like sharing their account holders' information. And you had a company like 20 plus years ago called Yodlee that sort of did it in the back by going through the back door. But the banks were not happy with that. Now, what it says here is that it's being led by the central bank. So that's really good. Is it the government is saying, look, you have to? And then there's the regulations and the security that's set up. Is that what's happened in Brazil?
Yeah, that's it. I hope
that's fantastic, by the way. It's like, I had no idea. That's absolutely brilliant because they're not going to do it voluntarily.
No. And it's a movement throughout Latin America. So in Brazil, it's really consolidated. But yes, the main banks, all the big banks that we see here in Brazil, they're all involved. They were involved since day one in the construction of open finance in Brazil, which was open banking and now is open finance. So they have this work group with a lot of people from banks talking about security, talking about how the API communication would be, which data would be shared, for how long I would want to share my data. Everything has been decided by this group of banks and fintechs with the regulator.
That's fantastic. And Brazil is sort of leading example for this for the rest of Latin America then.
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
I want to jump there to America too. In America, we only have the big global bank that has access to the system with sales on another initiatives. They don't give access to any fintech neither. It's an important process because they're going to change the financial point of view. I think it's a great initiative for Brazil, just to catch up the process. We are in very close system in America.
And Amanda, here on the slide, it says 4 million people have already shared their financial data. So that means, I go into my online banking, I'm prompted by my bank to say, would you like to share your financial data? You go through a series of questions. We've seen examples of that in other coffee chats. So 4 million people have already opted in to this system. Do you have insight? Is this number growing on a monthly basis? Is it stagnated? What do you expect to happen for the rest of the year?
No, it's definitely growing, especially now that we have payment initiation on the scene. So we are expecting a lot of more people to share their data, especially that they are learning that it's something that they can trust, that the system can be trusted. So it's something that has been growing exponentially. And there is this data by Oliver Wyman that say that by 2025, 60 million are expected to adopt open finance in Brazil, based on the growth that we are seeing month to month.
Perfect. Okay, excellent.
So there's a difference between open banking and payment initiation. And are you going to be talking about payment initiation, how it works? Because that's where the details really matter when it comes to security.
Yes, we will be covering payment initiation further, but to let you know it's part of an open ecosystem. So the payment initiation, at least in Brazil, is part of the regulation of open finance. So it's definitely covered in the fourth phase of the implementation in Brazil, which has four phases. And the fourth phase really specifies everything related payment initiation, security guidelines, fraud, and everything.
So let's take a look at Mexico and Colombia, which are not as advanced as Brazil, but still have a lot of relevant insights.
Yes, of course. So in Colombia, I think we skip Mexico, or is Colombia the next one in line?
Mexico is after Colombia.
Okay. So Colombia, what we saw after more than 2 years of intense discussion, the regulation in open finance is always also happening with the participation of the entire ecosystem. A new decree was published by the government in July 2022. And in general terms, what this decree means, it represents a further advance in the regulation of open finance in Colombia, of its models. And it defines clearly the role that the players will act, how they will be able to operate under these new regulations, and also begins to establish some of the operating rules that will have to be complied when it's definitely implemented, like in Brazil. We already have, it's important to mention that what happened in Colombia is that we already and also what happened in Brazil and happens in Mexico is that even though regulation is still being developed, we already have open finance platforms already allowing a wide range of financial companies to and banks to better understand their customer data and offer better products through open finance, through data aggregation, to independent APIs. Also in Colombia, different from Brazil, it's possible to access fiscal data with open finance. Belvo has developed an open finance solution that connects with tax data from DIAN in Colombia, which is the first in the market. So with this access, especially companies can extract the latest tax return in the root, as well as download invoices issued and received within the stipulated period, allowing like a really global vision of the user's financial health, financial situation. Colombia, we saw 120% growth in fintech over the last three years. It's huge. And it's really similar to Brazil when it comes to the population that is really engaged to and open to new technology. And we're very happy about this decree. We saw how the government being involved in open finance decisions has played, and it's really positive for Colombia too. In Colombia, we also have payment initiation solutions that are already happened, even though the regulation is not already established, but we have payment initiation with PCMI, which is the main bank to account means in Colombia, similar to PIX. But
And Amanda, in the case of Colombia, how does a customer grant permission?
Right now, we have this independent APIs that also happen in Brazil before the regulated ecosystem actually happened. So you have trusted platforms such as Belvo that offer this data consent. So that does the whole connection from the bank account, from the financial institution to the company that is using Belvo's API. So the open finance platform API such as Belvo. So we connect, in our case, we connect the user, the data from the user at the company to the bank account, and then we retrieve the data for the company. So this is how you can do in Colombia, and then you have this flow that we will go over in a couple of slides forward, but it is like this.
Okay, great. And I think David has a question.
Yes, I would like to know if Belvo is part of this initiative in Colombia, or if we know what companies are working with the government of Colombia in this initiative?
Belvo is definitely involved with the conversations. We work closely with Colombia FinTech to develop this ecosystem. In Brazil, we also were part of the work groups. We were part of the discussion regarding the data consent journey. And in Colombia, we're really, really close to these structures too. And so I would say yes, that we are playing a big role there.
Perfect. All right.
And Amanda, we have a question in the chat from Diego. He's asking, in an open banking environment, who is responsible for the end user compliance? It is the bank who opened the account, the fintechs, or everyone?
The data, yes, definitely you need a trusted provider to do the connection. So you need to have a trusted provider that follows the ISO process, that cryptographs the data, and that follows the regulation. Under the regulated scope, this is all you have to follow the flow that is recommended by, actually not recommended, that you really need to follow the flow from the Brazilian central bank. So yeah, I would say the security, all the three parts involved must be aware of, accounted for, and you really need a trusted platform.
Sorry, if I may, Amanda, I was more referring to be able to have open banking, you need to have banking first. So to be able to open an account, you need to do due diligence, you need compliance on, who's your client, where's that money coming from? And every country has its own regulations besides the international ones. When you add open banking, and then you have this flexibility to interconnect systems, let's say you use Belvo for payment rails, or for doing like this, the payment here with Bancolombia, who is responsible? If something were to happen, if a fraudulent transaction happens, is it the end bank because it opened an account or its clients up, or the middleman, or like who is it?
I'm not sure if I really understand, but if you like, we can chat afterwards, and then I can circle back to your question to really give you an accurate response.
Sure, thank you.
I think, Diego, Amanda and I were talking about this beforehand, and I think, I don't know if this is true, but it would seem that the financial, the accounts are still opened and maintained by the financial institution. So it would seem that they're still responsible for all the due diligence of vetting that customer, know your customer, and all that, by either the fintech or the bank opening that account. And then a company like Belvo or an intermediary is providing the connectivity, but isn't necessarily responsible for confirming that that's a valid user or not. Is that right, Amanda?
Yeah, every institution that participates in open finance process is responsible for making sure that the data sharing is secure, and that all data is secured. That's why there's the cryptography. So every player is responsible.
Great.
To John, but having said that, your role will be as playing just provide information on the banks. You had account and made the transaction. You had account between the two parties. You're gonna be the middle guys to move the process to make the information process, not the regulation process. That is correct?
Yes. You need to follow the regulation process.
Okay. Second question: in what country are you located today? In what country? Brazil, Colombia,
And Mexico.
And Mexico. Okay, perfect. Thank you. Sorry to interrupt.
Also, something important to notice, especially in Brazil, is throughout the open finance process is the user who has fully control of the entire journey. So he's the one who needs to give access. He's the one who will fill in their credentials. So a company will never be able to retrieve any data without a user consent. So this is in Brazil, this is in Mexico, this is in Colombia. So everything is done under the customer authorization. So they need to express their consent every time they share their data. So they know what they're doing. So no company can do that without the user consenting. And it's just another thing in Brazil, since it's regulated by the central bank, and also with what's happening in Mexico and in Brazil, there is a series of security procedures that are regulated for all the participant institutions.
Mhm. Perfect.
Where were you?
Mexico.
Okay, so I was talking about the fintech law. I don't know if I was able to cover it fully, but in Mexico, what started with the fintech law back in 2018, which established the general rules for the operation of fintech, the creation and the regulation of all these sort of companies, and positioned Mexico as one of the first ones having the law for this time. However, 2 years in delay, we're still waiting for certain secondary regulations to develop, especially regarding to open finance, focus on transactional data of customers, and the implementation of regulated APIs for all players, saying that are mandatory as the ones contemplated by law. What to expect in 2023? We expect that there will be a change of pace for the regulation of open finance in Mexico. The regulator has been showing openness, low knowledge, technical capacity, and really greater approach to the entities involved in this regard. They are listening to the entities, which can mean that the secondary rules that will be issued would not only be considered from the needs of the entity, but for the bank, but also the CNBV, but also from all the needs and proposals and experiences of the open finance companies that are enrolled in the process in the country.
Mhm.
Now I will move forward to something more technical that might help clear your doubts about how open finance consent works, about security, about a data sharing process. So what open finance companies do and what Belvo does now, they help to connect companies to connect to their users' financial data, understand their behavior, and now initiate payments through one single platform. So they can do everything just with one API connection. We can move forward for the next slide. So a little bit about who Belvo. We operate in 3 main markets: Brazil, Mexico, Colombia. And also we already have connections with 60 financial institutions, the main ones in Brazil and Mexico. In Colombia, we already work with 150 clients, including some of the region's fastest growing leading financial companies, from banks, from fintech players. Some examples are Rappi, Mercado Livre, Intuit, BS2, Mobiles, Jeeves. We have many players from different verticals working with us. And what we do is that we enable these fintechs and innovative financial institutions to access and interpret their data, their users' financial data, and enable them to create more modern, accessible, inclusive products, which is the secret for open finance. Really, this is why open finance exists. We can move forward. So how we do this? There are 3 things, the main 3 things that any open finance platform should do. The first one is aggregate data, which means connect to a lot of financial data sources and bring the data for the companies, which means which can be banking data, fiscal data, receivables in Brazil, which I don't know if you are aware of, is when you have something to when a company has bills to be paid, money to be received. These are receivables. We can retrieve that information. and also in Brazil, the regulated open finance ecosystem. So we connect to the API and we bring the data from the customer under their consent. Then we have the second step, which is enrich the data. So it's not only about getting the data, because then you get like this all sort of raw data, really data that you can understand what it comes from, what is the merchant that issued that transaction, how to categorize it, and Belvo does this. So we offer a set of data enrichment products to really extract value from the raw data, the raw transactional data. So for instance, we have income verification. You can identify what income does a user receives every month, how is their financial health. We help them, the companies, categorize the transactions, like identify where a certain person is spending their money. Is it in health? Is it in leisure? Is it in transport? Then the companies can help this user offer valuable insights. Also, the recurring expenses such as Netflix, Spotify, where is this money going? And also risk insights. When you have access to all this information, when you know when the bills are paid, if they're paid in time, if they're paid fully, if someone receives income in like a certain time of the month that is not actually in a paycheck. So it helps you have a global vision of the health of your user, of your client, which can help you obtain some risk insights that Belvo delivers. Also, we have the bring your own data, especially for financial institutions that already have the data from Open Finance. For instance, they already have, but they have some troubles categorizing this Open Finance data. We help them obtain all these insights, all these products with our technology, with machine learning technology. And then the third is payments. Of course, we offer end-to-end banking payment solutions, PCMI payments in Colombia, and Open Finance payments in Brazil. So we're covering a little bit there of this forward in the slides. You can go to the next.
Let me ask you. This is great because it starts to paint a picture of what the ecosystem actually looks like. Can you describe, who is your client and what would be an example of a service you would provide them?
Yeah. If we can move forward to the use cases, I can cover that. Yes, this one. So we have 4 main use cases that really benefit from Open Finance: lending, account and ERP, personal finance, and financial institutions. So for instance, in Brazil, we help these companies, for instance, Mercado Crédito, to expand their credit funnel, understand their data, their customer data, which helps them increase their conversion rates, reduce risk by knowing their customers' behavior, build better credit models. So lending is a really useful tool for companies through Open Finance to improve credit scoring, underwriting models, because they access real-time data and this enriched data with risk insights that help them build new services, offer new experiences. For instance, you have a credit fintech with Open Finance. You just allow your customer to connect their data. Automatically, you retrieve all this data, you have the insights, and then you can offer almost instantaneously a credit offer that is based on the needs of their customers and their ability to pay. And so you reduce all the manual workload, because you don't have to upload my paycheck. I don't have to upload any other documents. I have everything there. Of course, there are still some documents that needs to be manually uploaded, but it reduces a lot and offers the possibility of offering more quickly the credit offers. We're experiencing.
So Mercado Crédito would be an example of a client.
Yes.
They hire Belvo. Okay.
Yeah.
And so their goal is to get better data on their customers who are requesting credit so they can make a better risk decision and a better offer, a better credit offering. Yes. Okay.
Yes.
And so how do you guys actually provide them data? Is it you are connected to all the other financial institutions in Brazil via Open Finance? What's happening once Mercado Crédito decides, okay, we want to work with Belvo? How are you able to aggregate and then enrich the data?
Okay, so I will just show the flow. Maybe can give a better vision. I think it's in the next one or the other one. You have the full flow. The other one. The next one, yes. So this is for the payments, but I don't think I have the data one there, but so let's go with the payment request. It's really similar. So when you access the Mercado Crédito page, you have the option of bringing your data when requesting crédito, and then you select the company. So you don't have this first screen here with pay with Open Finance, but you will select the institution that you want to retrieve data, you want to connect. And then probably, I don't think I have the second one. If you can move to the second one. Yeah, it's the same process. So Belvo API will lead the customer within the app. So Mercado Crédito app. It won't leave you back to another page, so you need to fill in, you would need to open on your internet banking. No, it's everything within Belvo's app thanks to the API connection, and then the user will introduce their credentials and authenticate the connection. So instead of confirming payment, as in this screen, it will show a screen talking about which data they want to share for how long, and then when they hit confirm, Belvo automatically sends all this data to Mercado Crédito automatically within seconds. So the confirmation is within seconds, the data is shared within seconds, and then Mercado Crédito has all the information that they need from that customer from that bank account that he connected.
Okay, so I have a real concern with this.
Yes.
Sorry, I have a real concern with this because I looked at redirects a while ago and major security concerns, because if you're at a merchant site and you are redirected to your bank and then you log in and identify yourself, how do you know it's really your bank?
Okay, so
because one of the things you can do is a merchant, a criminal organization can create a merchant and then you redirect to your bank, and it just made it look like it's your bank, and then you're typing in all your login information.
Okay.
And all of a sudden they have it now. So that there is a major concern about that. So how are you addressing that concern?
Good question. Good question, Nick. So here, there's no way this bank can be simulated because it's actually the bank environment that is connected to Belvo's API. So what I'm talking here about Belvo as a trusted open finance provider, we connect to the banks. We are regulated by the Open Finance regulator in Brazil. We are involved with regulation in Mexico and in Colombia, and we connect to the bank's API. So there is no way that a hacker or someone with poor intentions can simulate this because Belvo actually connects to the bank. So there is no redirect.
Yeah, Belvo is the trusted partner. That's a whole different story then. So let's say I'm at a merchant and I'm selecting to make a payment. Will they redirect the customer to your site? Is that how it works?
So if the merchant is connected to Belvo,
I'm at the merchant site.
Yes.
Yes, I'm ready to pay.
Okay. So you're the merchant side, you're ready to pay to that merchant that you trust
Yes.
because you already know it. It's like the same as any e-commerce.
No, I don't know the merchant. That's the whole point. The merchant is an unknown. I trust Belvo. I don't necessarily trust the merchant, though. That's the whole point of a purchase, is that you're buying from companies that you don't necessarily know very well. That's why there are purchase guarantees on card transactions.
Okay. So let's talk about payments and similar to Pix. If you go here in Brazil, if you go to an e-commerce website that actually you can trust, but you want to make that purchase, you're choosing to make that purchase, and you choose to pay, they will generate a Pix code or they will request your credit card, and then you will trust them with your credit card information, or you will make an instant payment like Pix or PSE. So this is your choice. You're choosing to make this payment. What Belvo secures this person is that only the amount that they are willing to transact is going to be transacted. So here in the payment page, you'll see that there is this amount. If you go back to one slide, you'll see that it's the same amount here of reais. And then Belvo will only allow you to pay this. So, okay, let's assume that this merchant it has poor intentions. What's the flow? It's the same flow we have with any Pix payments in Brazil. So you have to contact your bank, which in case of credit card, you have to contact the bank and they will contact the credit card issuer, and the process is similar. So of course, like credit card or any other boleto payment in Brazil, PSE or Pix, you can guarantee that all merchants in the internet will be safe, but it's the choice of the user.
Well, to that point, Amanda, there's another question here from Diego on the role of Belvo. So are you guys orchestrating payments between existing rails, or do you also process and do the clearing?
Let me see if I was fair. We only initiate the payment. So Belvo only initiates it. So we don't process it. It's just like we are, how can I say? We just make the process easier for the customer, because we
provide the bridge, the connectivity.
The connectivity, that's it. We don't process the money, we don't store money. Everything is bank to bank.
Got it. And another interesting question from Diego is, do you guys leverage, do you treat each country independently, or are you able to mine data across countries?
No, it's only within countries so far.
Yeah.
One question over there to John, sorry. And that's part of the orchestration process that you make as PSP process, not orchestration of PSP solution. As a fintech or an additional company, what we need to have with you, we're going to be account with you, we need to have account with the bank. How is the process to make the moving money in that activity? Or we need to have a local account in each country to make the process happen.
To really do the payment process, right? So in Brazil, you will have to need your bank account, and that will connect to the user bank account. So it's a bank to bank account process.
Okay, having said that, I will need to have a Pix account, my account in Brazil with a Pix enable action to make the process happen, and that's where you can make the transfers.
Yes, you need to be a legal entity and need to be able to provide the Pix number.
Got it. So, I mean, if we can, let's go back to the use case slide, because I'd love to talk through a little bit more. You mentioned lending, and that a lot of people think about lending when we think about open finance, right? Get more data means better decisions around credit. What about some of these other use cases, Amanda? Can you explain a little bit how they would work and what the new capabilities that clients are getting access to are?
Of course. So here, and excluding payment, just talking about payment aggregation, and enrichment, because payment is a whole different story that also can be used for each one of these use cases. But when it comes to data aggregation and enrichment, for instance, accounting services and ERP providers, they can really use Open Finance to connect their companies, the clients, their companies that are clients of the system, to gather all their bank information in one platform. So if a company has different bank accounts, they can gather all these informations in just one system, so they can be their source of truth for anything relating to their accounting life. And thus they can reduce the manual errors, because you don't need to keep inputting information. You will retrieve this information automatically. You can get a simplified expense management, because you have everything clear, what's inflow, what's outflow, and a smoother invoicing, thanks to fiscal data in Colombia or in Mexico, because you can import all that information and know exactly what you paid. And in the end of the month, really do the conciliation. So
Okay, so for example, Conta Azul would enable their clients, which are businesses, to see all of their bank accounts, all of their invoices, all of their fiscal data on one platform, and that's powered by you guys.
Yes, that would be it. In Conta,
it's like a personal finance manager for businesses, where you can
Yes.
see everything on one. Got it. Okay.
Yeah, but Belvo doesn't do the the finance management, but it enables Conta Azul to do it. In Brazil, we don't have the fiscal data, but all the other payment information they would have within the connection through Belvo, and offer their customer a better customer experience, reduce the dropout rates, reduce fraud risk, because they will know that an information that a company has inserted into the system is accurate, because Belvo takes the information that they shared from their bank account and say, okay, this is the actual company, this is legit.
Perfect.
And then in the same sense that you said, a really finance management system, we have the personal finance use case, which means that are the PFMs, the personal finance management apps. They can use Open Finance. This is actually the most obvious and easy use case, because what a PFM does, it really wants to help their user to understand their finances, what they have what are their expenses, how much money do they earn. So with Open Finance, they can retrieve all this data from different bank accounts. And nowadays, it's really common that we have more than one bank account, more than one credit card, and Open Finance really enables this company to access all this information for their customers and really provide insightful insights, an actual look of their entire financial life. So it's one of the most impactful uses for Open Finance right now. And we have, for instance, Mobiles in Brazil, that is the main PFM in the country. They use us to retrieve data and show to their users in real time what are their expenses, and also categorize if I am expending in pharmacy, if I am buying too many clothes. They can help the user understand their patterns and help them save money, reduce trivial expenses. So it's really useful to increase engagement and everything. And then, of course, financial institutions. In Colombia and in Mexico, we help them aggregate the data, bring their data, access Open Finance data from all the other institutions that are participant. But in Brazil, since all the banks are already enrolled in that process, they already do offer this. We also offer a source of complementary data to re-engage with customers and also to help them enrich that information. Build strong risk models, reach new audiences, customize their offerings based on the insights that we can provide to these financial institutions.
So that's interesting. You know, last year we had a coffee chat on this, and one of the comments was that, okay, banks are starting to access all this data, but they're in very early stages of understanding the data. knowing what to do with it, knowing how to interpret it. So is that what you're trying to solve for here by being a complementary data source and helping them get insights from that data?
Yes, definitely. We give them intelligence. We have machine learning models that help us really analyze those data and enrich it.
Okay, awesome. It's becoming more clear. Thank you so much. And in Mexico, maybe you can just spend a minute talking about, Mexico, the regulation is still very early. The rules haven't been defined. So how does Belvo operate in Mexico? Have you had to go build out relationships with all these financial institutions who want to partner with you ahead of the regulation? How does that connectivity work?
Okay. So Belvo builds direct APIs with each one of the banks to retrieve data, such as we were doing in Brazil also, to get information from the bank, always with the user consent, of course, but it's for all the institutions, we have individual API connections.
Okay. And on this topic of APIs, can you explain what's your business model? Is it, for example, Mercado Crédito, you guys charge per query or per user, or what's the business model?
Right. There are some packages, of course, but it's usually according to the API calls that you need. We have a monthly fee, and then we adapt according to the quantity of API calls. You can have only the data aggregation, or you can add an enrichment solution to the package, and then we build it accordingly.
Got it. Okay. According to the API calls that you need. Okay. Starting to get clear.
Hey there, this is Michael Drain.
Michael.
From Spreedly. I'm new here.
If I can, you, Michael.
If I can just dial back, just to make sure I'm really understanding what the use case is and opportunity. But I know in LATAM, especially countries like Brazil, installments through the credit card provider, the acquiring bank, or the PSP is quite common. What's an opportunity here is Belvo can offer an alternative to where a merchant can provide their consumers credit to break up a purchase into installments, but where it's through installments direct bank-to-bank transfer. So the idea is that there should be lower, merchant fees, interchange fees, and the underwriting to determine the number of installments or the credit risk is done at the same time through this aggregation. It's kind of a one-stop shop alternative to installments by credit card.
When I talk about credit card and a payment initiation, installments is not something that is comprehended in the payment initiation. So for now, because what we do offer is the instant payment bank to bank account. So if I want to pay installments, I can use payment initiation just like I can use Pix for it. But there is a discussion and there is a trend of recurring payments, and then you will be able to have an alternative for credit cards. So basically, and this is not something that is happening right now, but it's under the plan, is that you have a permanent connection. You'll have how to select how much money you want to have released for an e-commerce store to, for instance, I can make a purchase in installments, and then it will be debited from my bank account month to month, just like a credit card. But it's not something, the recurring payment initiation is not something that is happening right now.
Okay, so this is simply just a one-time payment initiation with some underwriting or some other aggregation of that consumer's financial details in advance.
Yes, if we compare to credit cards, yes, it's just a one-time payment.
Okay.
But
Amanda,
yeah, go
Amanda,
ahead.
Yes, this is Ruben Gross, Amanda. I just wonder, instead of thinking on a transaction per transaction basis, if I'm looking at the process of data aggregation and data enrichment, can I, as a bank, send you 1 million names and IDs to identify people that I'm looking for? What I mean is that, can you provide that process of data aggregation and data enrichment and sending me that information back with certain level of scoring, alternative scoring, different than the credit bureau scoring? Is that part of the process that Belvo and part of the service that Belvo provide?
Yeah, not providing personal information, but of course helping you to really improve your scoring by sending you the information that you need. For instance, you have a database, if I understand correctly, you have a database, you want to share this data with us so we can help you by enriching it and giving you some risk insights based on income that they get every month, based on how they expend their money, if they pay their bills in time. It'll
Correct.
Yes. So
correct. Specifically looking for those people who really have a bank account relationship but doesn't have a credit relationship with the bank, no?
But Ruben, you would still make the decision, and you would still, but it's that Belvo would provide more data to help you make a better decision.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
And
So
in certain
guys,
cases,
we're almost, sorry to
Yeah.
interrupt you, but we're just about out of time, and I want to make sure, Amanda, we're not going to overextend our time here. Amanda, are there any final thoughts you want to leave us with, or any slides we didn't get to that you'd love to touch on before we wrap up?
I think we covered everyone. You guys were so engaged. I'm so happy with the results. And if there is any other questions that I wasn't able to cover, especially to security, if you can go to the last slide, where you can find the last one. This is just
oh, good.
Yeah. If we have like a couple of minutes, maybe we can cover the payment initiation and how it works compared to existing payment methods, because this I think something that really popped out among the questions. So here in Brazil, we have 3 big ones: the credit card, boleto, and Pix. And then we have payment initiation. So what's the advantage? So while credit card has higher costs and the chargeback costs, and cars can get lost, stolen, expired, we have other solutions such as boleto and Pix boleto is an offline payment method that you can go to the bank, put the barcode and pay. And then you have Pix that you do everything instantly through the banks. And then you have payment initiation that actually makes Pix easier. This is the basic of payment initiation, but we will be happier to explain more about this. I know that you all are very curious about payment initiation, how secure it is. So I invite you to either take a look at our website or to reach out to us. You can find the contacts in the end. In the end slide.
Sorry, Amanda, I think it is not here.
Oh, it's not?
I will include it in the chat.
Okay.
And what we'll do as well, there are several questions that we didn't get to today, but we'll compile those, Amanda, and send them to you, and then you guys can continue the conversation offline, because there's some very specific but really good questions that I think deserve that attention. So if we just so Amanda, thank you so much. This is clearly a lot still to be demystified around open finance, around payment initiation. And of course, I think the community still has a lot of questions. So we'll thank you. You know, this is a really great progress towards helping everyone really understand that. And I'm sure we'll be watching Belvo and watching the evolution of open finance throughout the rest of the year. Okay. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much for the opportunity and all the questions, everyone.
Awesome. So just to wrap up, if we go towards the end here, I just want to remind you guys, We'll be back in about 2 weeks with a really fascinating discussion on FX banking and cross-border payments with Bex, which is a fascinating company focused on FX banking, FX as a service, something really innovative and exciting. So we're looking forward to that. Please remember, again, the Crosstech discount code is there, as well as the link to learn about the event and potentially sign up is in the chat there. So I'd love for you guys to take advantage of this. Thank you for our Crosstech friends for joining us today. And everyone have a great week. Thank you again, Amanda. We'll be back in 2 weeks. So see you all soon. Thank you so much.